Good morning, my king.
Good morning, my baby. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm well. How's it
Yeah,
going?
I'm well, man.
The sun's not out.
The sun's not out. We're having the longest winter ever, longest winter and spring ever.
Yes.
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
What do you do when you want to build? When you're progressive, you want things to work in the marriage, but one part of you, your spouse, your husband, your wife, just won't build. The scripture tells us that a wise woman builds, but a foolish one pulls things down, with her own hands. She will destroy with her own hands.
Mm-hmm.
The scripture tells us as well that he who troubles his family will inherit the wind.
Oof.
So this is a couple, they're together, they're married, and one really wants them to succeed. Um, she or he can see all the makings of a successful marriage in every sense of the word.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe the spouse is playful, spends money, you save, and every so often when you've saved, you come to $10,000, 10,000 Rand, 10,000, whatever it is, you've saved, you've got your 5,000, your 2,000. Your spouse goes and squanders that money, and you keep on starting to go up the ladder and finding yourself at the bottom again. What do? You love your person,
Mm-hmm.
but your person is destructive and has no vision and no direction. What do you do?
The scripture says, "Can two walk together unless they be agreed?" And there's nowhere I think that unity is more important than in a marriage. I really don't think so. One of my favorite scriptures actually says that one will put 1,000 to flight, but two will put 10,000 to flight. So, and I've said this to you repeatedly, Sarah, that I really believe that we're 10 times more effective together than we
Absolutely.
are individually.
That's right.
And so, when it comes to relationships, um, one of the most important things is to have that spirit of unity. It really is key. I've started evaluating a lot of relationships, not just the marriage relationship, but relationships generally on the basis of energy, because a lot of relationships take energy from you. Some relationships give you energy. Are you with me? And then if you're in a relationship where in a marriage particularly where you are constantly drained, you're constantly having to feed in and put in, and the other person is taking away from you, and you're trying to build and they're pulling down, it's not going to go far. It's not going to go far. Unfortunately, when we've been counseling a lot of couples, we've come across that dynamic, haven't we? Where one party has the vision, one party is excited, they're passionate about life, the other one is going nowhere.
Yeah.
Is a pessimist, isn't convinced that anything is going to work, and then it absolutely drains and it sucks the vitality out of that relationship. And so we always
Absolutely.
encourage couples that you have to be on the same wavelength. You have to, even one that you can relate to. I know it's not specifically what you asked about, but one we've always endeavored in this relationship to grow at the same level.
We've
Um,
always tried to
yeah.
grow at the same time. You're a voracious reader. You read way, way faster than I do, probably because of your law training, law school, and all the books you guys were reading. But you always download and share. And anything I learn and hear, I also download and I share with you. We always try to grow at the same time.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's so important.
It's key because if you don't do that, you're pulling in different directions, and so you start off asking the question, what do you do when one party in the relationship is not really growing, is not really trying, you're building and they're pulling down.
Mm.
Uh,
You'll find yourself circling the block and
yeah,
staying in, I call it mediocre
yeah,
plaza, for a long time or for all your life
yeah,
if you don't do, like we always say, sit down and have the conversations. There are times you need to get to a place where you sit down and you have a conversation and you say, you know what, my person, I love you.
hmm,
I love you with all my heart, but
yeah,
we cannot live in this space, in this place of mediocrity, of almost there, of never quite getting there, because you refuse to do what it takes to put in the time, to put in the work, to put in the diligence and the discipline. You keep on draining our pot of funds. You keep on draining our savings. You keep on squandering
hmm,
our hard-earned living
hmm,
on frivolous living. So you need to get to a place where you sit down and you have that hard come to Jesus conversation. Because if you just cry or you're sad about it, but you don't have the conversation, you're going to keep on going round and round and round, and your life will go nowhere. And if you are ambitious and you want to do great things and go a distance with your life and do great things with your destiny and leave a legacy, and yet your spouse, your other half, has got no vision, let me tell you something, that person will slow everything you do down, and you'll never hit the mark. You need to have that conversation, and some parameters need to be laid down, some boundaries, some targets, and maybe to sit down and ask one another what the vision is. Maybe you never asked each other that from the get-go, because when you don't know what the vision is and you haven't shared the vision in that dating phase, the dating phase is the fact-finding phase. If you haven't found out, you're trying to go, but maybe you're going in two different directions because you haven't had the conversation. But when you sit down and you begin to talk about goals and plans, and this is where we're going, this is what we're building in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years, 10 years' time, this is where I think we should be, and this is where I believe we can be. You do this, I do this, let's do this. And you harness your strength. Like you said, one will put 1,000 to flight, two will put 10,000 to flight. We're able to accomplish much more, much quicker when we work together in unity and in one accord.
I'll say this finally.
Yeah,
There's nothing worse than resentment in a relationship.
absolutely.
And when you begin to resent your spouse because they're not a visionary, they're not going anywhere, they're keeping you mired, they're keeping you grounded. There's nothing worse than when you're trying to fly and somebody insists on being a chicken. It's a horrible feeling, you know. So I guess today, get those ego wings out,
Come on
get that
now.
ego vision out, get that ego mindset out, and begin to soar. And as a couple, begin to plan by design. This is where we want to go. We want to build something great that we can be proud of. We want to create an amazing legacy. We want to leave something that our children will be proud of, that we have something that we can look back with pride on when our
That's
time on
right.
this spinning globe is done. And there's no room for mediocrity in that space.
No,
So
no.
get to thinking, get to dreaming, get to flying. Let's go.
Absolutely. Let's go.
Have a
God
good one.
bless you, saints.